Our speaker is Pascal Gauthier. He's actually been a supporter of this conference from the very early days, and we certainly are very grateful and appreciate that. And Pascal is chairman and CEO of Ledger, the world's leading actor in securing digital assets, critical digital assets. He's a serial entrepreneur responsible for a significant number of very successful scale-ups. He worked as a venture partner at Mosaic Ventures in London. I think I've seen some of the deals that you worked on there, which was very interesting. He's a non-executive chairman of Kaiko, a financial data website on Bitcoin. Now, what a lot of people probably don't know is that in addition to this, he is a backcountry skier. Please welcome Pascal Gauthier to the stage.
I presented here 2 years ago, so the year before COVID, and I'm about to tell you exactly the same thing that I said before. Except that the only difference is before it was more of a vision, and now it's more accurate. It's a delivery. It's something that we've been through and we know it's real. And so the vision at the time is, security will need to evolve because coins will move sort of more and more, and security will need to adapt to this new paradigm of, going from cold storage at the time to, something where coins will move much more. And so this is something that has happened, and I'm going to talk to you about that today. In 2017, we sat down with the leaders at Ledger, and we were thinking about, how do we define everything that is coming our way? Because, we've been in this business since 2015. So it was Bitcoin only at the time. And so it was Bitcoin and then Ethereum, but, there were few public protocols. But we were thinking about what we were doing, and we had this vision of something that we call critical digital assets. Web3 is a revolution of ownership, and it's a revolution of transfer of value. And for us, we thought very early on that it would be Bitcoin, but then it would be many other things. And so at the time, it seemed very conceptual in a way, because you could think about Bitcoin, Ethereum, security tokens, and so on and so forth. And suddenly, boom, you had NFTs. And honestly, 2 years ago when I presented here, no one knew about NFTs. I mean, it existed, but it was not like a big value proposition in the market. And if you think about the NFT market and the boom that it has been in 2021, I mean, it's crazy. But NFT really tells you what we mean, bless you, by the way. NFT really tells you what we mean by critical digital assets, those assets that you cannot lose. So I'm going to tell you 4 things. Blockchain technology is changing the world. I prefer to say public protocols, but okay. What are we seeing in the market? Security risk is unprecedented. I'll tell you why. And security at the edges is a solution through personal devices. And I'll tell you why hardware is very important in the world that we live in. Blockchain technology is changing the world. We went from Web 1, which was an open protocol, decentralized, driven by community. Web 2, very centralized, owned by large corporations. Meltem earlier today talked about that. I thought she made a great point. And Web 3 sort of, we're going back to the roots of the web. It's decentralized, driven by community. But this time around, there is a very nice incentive scheme that is built in sort of Web 3, and that's the tokenization of everything. And of course, it's powered by public protocols. Securing crypto and securing Web 3 has never been sort of more important, because what Web 3 has in common is 2 things. It's the security of the private key, and it's the immutability of transaction. And so this is something that is actually very new. Everything relies on a secret, and if you lose that secret, poof, everything is gone. And I had debates with people saying like, oh, it's gone, but it's not really gone, because eventually you can trace it back, etc., because all of this is traceable. But the problem, no, it's immutable. So once it's gone, it's gone. It's very different from the system that we come from, where if you do the wrong transaction, etc., you can sort of trace it back to other banks. Eventually, you can see your money back, etc. It's very difficult to steal money at scale in the current system. It only happens in the Die Hard movies, where they steal bones first, like they hack a safe and then steal bones, but they all die in the end, so actually it didn't work. And then in the Die Hard 2, they try to steal gold at scale with those trucks. And actually, in real life, I don't think it has ever happened. Actually, I was reading something about the French gold during World War II and how they moved like 2,000 tons of gold. It was interesting, but this is actually how you steal gold at scale. You need an army, you need to invade a country. It's very difficult. To steal Bitcoin is very easy. It is the weakness of the protocol. It's very easy. To steal $2 billion of Bitcoin is very easy. I just need your private address. I make that transaction, poof, it's gone. And then you'll never see your money again. So security of Web3, and what works for Bitcoin works for everything else. And security of Web3 is very paramount. If you open like Twitter right now, in Twitter NFT, you'll see that the main problem that people that are buying NFTs, I mean, they got many problems. Like sometimes they just buy JPEGs. But the other problem that they have, they get being hacked left and right. And what they do is like they tweet like, oh my God, I just lost my $500,000 worth of NFTs. This is what's happening in the market. And I'll come back on that. So what are we seeing? First, we're seeing like a rise of users. I think it's 300 million users last time we count. It's very similar to what the web was in 1998, 300 million users. And now we know what the web is, 20 some year after. Everyone's got a phone. There are billions of phones in the world. Everyone is connected to the web. And so if you feel that crypto is going to follow the same trajectory, and we feel that crypto is going to follow the same trajectory, in a few years, there will be billions of users using crypto. So you can imagine that 300 million that we are today is actually a very small number compared to the opportunity that is coming. And it's a big retail revolution. I was on CNBC this morning, and actually the data supports this. What's happening right now is like the percentage of Bitcoin owned by whales is going down when the percentage of Bitcoins owned by smaller address is actually going up. So it feels that retail is actually coming in the market. And if you think about NFT, I mean, it's pure retail right now. This is a slide to say that it's not only the people, but it's also the value. And so in security, value is very important. Everybody understands that to secure $1, who cares? To secure $1,000, okay, $1 million, $1 trillion, $100 trillion, as the money goes up, the honeypot gets bigger, then attackers get more creative and can spend much more money. You have to understand that if I know I can steal $1 trillion, I'll probably spend like a few $100 million to build an attack and to take that money from you. And so as the community is growing and as the size of the market is growing, then it creates further risk in terms of security. And so the security risk is really unprecedented because of the way the technology is built, because where the market is going. And for those of you that are in crypto and think security tokens, etc., I mean, think again, because if you bring a lot of value onto a blockchain, then it's going to be a public blockchain, and you're going to need to secure it the same way that you're going to have to secure, Bitcoin, etc., etc. And so the money that is on public blockchains today, like the value, is actually very small and still very niche compared to what's coming. So the risk is real. And the risk is real because every time that you sign something with crypto, you put your assets at risk. So it is actually what I said 2 years ago, where this fantasy that Bitcoin will be just cold storage and you put it somewhere and you never touch it. People say, oh, it's good, I'm cold storage. Okay, that's fine. Actually, it doesn't really work, and I won't get into details, but the thing is, it's all good and well, but as soon as you want to do something with your Bitcoins, as soon as you want to interact with DeFi, as soon as you want to do sort of anything, then you need to sign. And to sign means that you need to prove ownership. To prove ownership, you need to show that you own the private key. This is a critical moment where people will take that money from you. And so it's only getting worse, signing, layer 2, smart contract, NFT, like you need to sign more and more with your private keys. There's actually a service, I can't remember the name, and actually maybe I shouldn't even say their name, but they say, oh, you can log in with Google or you can log in with your seed. Okay? So that's obviously super wrong. And so interaction with your seed, signing, etc., is something that is much more, like who was in Bitcoin in 15? Okay, so a bunch of you. So you remember, like, you could leave your Bitcoin on a piece of paper and not touch it, and it was fine. Today, it's not the same. You want to interact because there is money to be made. And so we're moving from curiosity to adoption. Curiosity is like, I'm going to try this. Adoption is like, we're going into mass adoption. At Ledger, this year, we sold 2 million devices. The best year we had before was 2017 with 1 million devices, so you can really see that there are more and more people coming. And next year, we're going to sell anything between 3 and 5 million devices. Like next year, this year, like 2022. So you can really see, a very steep curve in terms of adoption, etc. And so it puts a lot of stress on everything. And so scale, actually, my CNBC interview this morning, I finished the interview, he asked me a question, I said, look, I got 3 things to say. I say security, governance, And then I was like, shit, like I didn't remember the third, and so I blanked out completely, so it was ridiculous, and this is how the interview ended. But the word I was looking for was scalability. These are the three things that we need to keep in mind. Like security is one thing, governance is another thing, and scale is yet another thing, because security is just the security of the private key. Governance for the enterprise business in the room means like who's got access to what, when, and how do I know that it's legitimate and that no one is going to take the coins and go to Costa Rica. And finally, scalability means that you need to do the first two while everything is scaling like crazy, meaning like number of protocols, number of transactions, number of people that need to sign, number of people that are on the platform, etc., etc. And so this is what's happening. The Web3 risk is the scale of value. The more it scales, I'm going to repeat myself, but the more it scales, the more it will attract bad actors. And if you think bad actors, think rogue states, North Korea, think terrorist organization, think people that have actually a lot of resources and can really hurt your business badly. And also, it would be very difficult for you to go after them. So we're not talking about the hacker that does it from in New York in his grandmother's basement, because that guy eventually you can track him down and bring him to jail. And trust me, like we do this. We have a cybersecurity team and we track a lot of people. We track the coins when our users are being scammed, and you'll be surprised where the coins end. And so what I can tell you for sure and by experience is that there are mean people that are after these coins, and the more value you bring into the system, the more dangerous it's going to get. Scale of complexity, there are more network, interactions, smart contract, blah, blah, blah. So all of this brings new attack vectors. All of this is yet another problem to solve in terms of security, and this is not to be dealt with lightly. We'll talk about blind signing in a second, but the industry is trying to go fast. I think security, you try to be right. Being fast and being first is not necessarily what you need to do when you build security. You just need to be right. And the scale of usage. Bitcoin is great. We shipped our product in 195 countries, everywhere in the world. The problem is you need to be up all the time, 24/7, around the clock, etc. in terms of customer service, etc. It puts a lot of stress on the companies. It puts a lot of stress on everyone here, because Bitcoin never sleeps. Like, it's active in the weekend. It's not just like the markets that close at 5 p.m. New York time, and then everyone is enjoying their weekends. Like, this never sleeps. And so the scale of usage is actually something to be taken in consideration. And also, in terms of security, imagine that you have something that's happening the weekend. You cannot just say that you're relaxing. You have to act there and then, etc. And so remember, security is a combination of two things. It's, the security, and I will explain in the video just after what is security, and cybersecurity. And it's the combination of these two things. And so we need to build like a strong security foundation. And when I say we, is as a community, it's Ledger, it's you and your business. This is very important. Like the physical security is very important. Like where your servers are located, this is an important piece of the equation. You must shy away from bullshit security marketing, like the super secure servers under the mountain with armed guards and F-16 jets ready to scramble. Like, okay, that's bullshit, but you have very secure locations to put your servers in, and that's step one. Step two, hardware. Secure hardware has been securing the financial industry, the telco industry since the 80s, and actually is your best line of defense against most of the attacks that are coming to you. Whether it's for something personal, consumer, Ledger hardware wallets, but hardware in general, and whether it's for the business with HSM. Hardware is your best line of defense. There is no other way around. Anyone that tells you that they can secure your shit with software is either incompetent or lying. If you have a software wallet on your phone, non-custodial right now, I'll take your money in less than 40 seconds. And I got videos to prove it, okay? Firmware is what you put in the hardware. It's actually the combination of the hardware and the firmware that actually build the strongest defense, because there are many ways of attacking a product. You'll see that in the video. You can attack the hardware with laser. You can try to attack through the software, etc. And so, the hardware and firmware is the yin and the yang to actually build a super secure product. And of course, then the software that sits on top, that needs to have like a very secure communication channel with your hardware. So imagine your hardware is super secure, there is a firmware, there are the keys, but then the connection with the software is insecure, and so therefore the software sends to the hardware, anything, so the hardware doesn't know what it signs. And so all these four things need to be built together and move as a single motion to actually build real security. And so we talked about consumer. We've seen, consumer security is top of mind. For enterprise, security is top of mind. I've moved to Switzerland recently in Geneva. I met with a lot of local banks in Geneva. The main problem is security, cybersecurity, when they think about Bitcoin. Of course, there's an opportunity, and they think about it because they think they could make money, also because their customers are asking for it, but they think about security, cybersecurity first and foremost, because if they do anything with Bitcoin and suddenly they get hacked and they lose the Bitcoins, it's a direct hit to the balance sheet and of course to the reputation. So it's something that no one wants to afford. And so security, cybersecurity, number one in the list. And so for us, security and freedom is the solution. And so security, we just talked about it. And why freedom? Because we believe that the security system should be very resilient and should give ultimately to the consumer or the enterprise the freedom that you deserve to run your business. Typically, the way that we design our products is that we make ledger irrelevant. If we all disappear in Paris in a terrible accident, the ledger building is caught on fire, we all die, I die, my management team dies, etc. And ledger no longer operates, it doesn't matter to you. You have your keys, you have your crypto, you can do whatever you want with it, you're in control. And freedom is very important. This world is actually difficult right now. When we're thinking about basic freedoms taking away from us, etc. Sometimes, and it's always for the greater good. You don't know, you might not know it, but your iPhone is screening you right now, your pictures, just to make sure you're not a pedophile. It's something real. I don't know if you guys know that. It's something that's happening right now in your phone. And so it's always for the greater good. So freedoms are being taken away from us. Crypto is a great way to bring ownership back to the user, to bring some freedom back to the user and even to businesses, because now you can control everything. And so we are bringing you the tools to you as a consumer or to you as an enterprise so you can control your destiny. And I've spoken enough, and really I'm not a security guy at the beginning. I'm a fraud. I come from advertising, but I thought security was interesting when I thought about Bitcoin first. Actually, I didn't think that Bitcoin could succeed without security. And then I was lucky enough to meet with the Ledger team, and they pitched me this crazy idea of using the chip and pin technology to secure crypto. And I said, okay, cool, I'm in. And so I invested in the company, and one thing leading to another, and now I'm CEO. But I've got real security people at Ledger, and they're amazing. And so what I propose to do is to just show you a video of our dungeon. The dungeon is our attack lab. We have the best attack lab in the world when it comes to this. We attack everything, our own products, our competitors' products, our partners' products, just to make sure that everything resists to attack. And these guys are crazy good. To know if hackers are good, you have a conference called Black Hat. It's actually the conference for hackers. To present something at Black Hat is actually very difficult. My team has been presenting 3 years in a row at Black Hat, and last year, 21, they presented 2 papers. So this is the most exceptional team that we have. It's our first line of defense for all of us to solve this important problem that I just presented. So my last slide was to say, very important, what you see is what you sign. So in the end, the endpoint is what you need to secure. And so what you see is what you sign. So remember 2 things. The endpoint security has to be done through hardware, and what you see is what you sign. It's something that is very important to keep in mind. Don't stop blind signing stuff. Blind signing stuff means that you don't know where the money is going, and when it's gone, it's immutable.
So here you are in the dungeon.
On est au donjon.
On est au donjon.
And dungeon is the product security team of Ledger.
On y pratique tout un tas de techniques de hacking. La particularité du donjon, c'est que c'est une équipe en sécurité qui a un très haut niveau d'expertise, à la fois en sécurité logicielle et en sécurité matérielle.
On attaque nos propres produits pour avoir toujours un temps d'avance par rapport aux attaquants.
On fait exactement la même chose qu'un hacker qui essaie de pirater nos produits.
Et le but de toutes ces évaluations, c'est d'identifier les potentielles failles.
Trouver des vulnérabilités, voir si c'est exploitable ou non, et dans tous les cas, les corriger.
Ça me semble important de savoir bien attaquer un produit pour savoir bien le défendre. Comme ça, au moment où ils sortent, ils sont déjà invulnérables. Notre but, c'est de détecter ces attaques avant qu'elles puissent être exploitées par des pirates.
Dans le milieu des crypto-monnaies, il y a énormément d'argent. Les produits qu'on vend servent à sécuriser justement des crypto-monnaies. Donc je pense que ce que recherche particulièrement un attaquant, c'est le gain.
Chaque projet est un défi. Le but, c'est d'arriver à contourner les protections d'un circuit qui a été conçu pour résister aux attaques.
Trouver un moyen détourné de les exploiter.
C'est assez challengeant.
What I find interesting is to do real attacks.
C'est un état d'esprit, c'est ça qui me plaît, quoi.
On peut passer des mois sur un projet à préparer une attaque, à réfléchir comment on va y arriver, à essayer de comprendre comment un produit fonctionne.
You should be curious, should be serious,
Beaucoup de persévérance.
you should be patient.
On peut parfois être bloqué, il ne faut jamais abandonner. Lorsqu'une attaque fonctionne, ce qui n'est pas toujours le cas, c'est hyper gratifiant.
I get satisfied when I present an attack which is robust, which is a safe attack, which is a fast attack.
Souvent, quand on attaque une puce, on est les premiers à y arriver.
It's a big moment. This is not a normal job.
Dans cette série de vidéos, nous allons vous montrer différentes techniques d'attaque,
On va montrer comment attaquer une puce électronique.
les attaques peu coûteuses en glitch de tension,
We are going to show you an example of controlling a mobile phone remotely in order to extract the seed and manipulate the crypto money.
ou des attaques plus évoluées comme l'injection de fautes électromagnétiques.
Et puis on va passer à des attaques plus compliquées avec des gros moyens financiers, par exemple une attaque avec un rayon laser. On va vous montrer comment faire des frappes chirurgicales sur une puce électronique.
Just to say, that was the coolest video I've seen you guys produce. Well done to your team for doing that. Thank you very much, Pascal Gauthier.